What's going on, everybody? Bokamarket.com here with 13 quick tips. It's probably going to make your gas a little bit worse, but in the long run, going to save you lots of money buying and selling used photography gear online. And I think I see a couple of you skeptics out there who are thinking, I've bought a ton of gear online, I've sold a ton of gear online, and I don't really have anything left to learn from you. I promise you, if you hang with me to the end of this video, you're going to be thinking to yourself, I didn't think I was going to learn anything from this guy, but I'm glad I hung with it because I learned something that I can carry forward for a long time and either save me a lot of money when I'm buying or make me a lot of money when I'm selling. Trust me, if you want to know a little bit of background about myself, I've sold and bought over $1 million worth of used gear online, and it's not really even a career, it's just a hobby. Y'all don't tell my wife that. Maybe she won't watch this video. So I want you to learn from my mistakes and learn from my wins, some tips of the trade where you can sort of find your way and save some money. So what are we going to talk about? First of all, we're going to talk about how to arm yourself with data, how you can learn a little bit about your camera gear that you're buying or selling really quickly. So not spending a lot of time here. We're just going to show you quick tips and how you can get in and out and get this information so you know what to sell your gear for, or you know what to buy your gear for, and you know where to put it. And obviously in this space, we're going to talk a little bit about Boka Market. We're going to plug a little bit because that's our reason for existing. All right, what next? Well, we're going to talk about some platforms where you buy and sell your gear. And there's the obvious ones like the eBay and the Facebook, and there's maybe some that you haven't thought of before. And within each of those, we're going to give you some tips on what to do, what not to do, how to maximize each platform. And finally, we're going to have a discussion about how to cover your ass. When you buy and sell online, that's the big fear that you're getting scammed, right? We're going to show you how to avoid that. And for those of you seasoned veterans, I imagine this is the place where you're going to learn the most. We'll probably start off with a few things that you already know, but going forward into it, you're going to learn a couple things. There's some hidden tools of the trade, some tips and tricks that I've used in the past that have saved me tons of money and saved me from getting burned. So that's pretty much it for our intro. Let's get into this and talk about how you can arm yourself with data. So I said earlier that Bokamarket.com exists to provide you information and data on your sales journey, trying to offload your camera gear or trying to buy new camera gear, and that's the absolute truth. We are a used and new price guide for camera gear, and we also aggregate across various platforms, Amazon, MPB, Adorama, where you can see these products in the market. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for both trying to buy a new product and seeing what's out there so you know what to sell it at. So you know the price to list your product at. If you had this A7R2 listed a month ago and you were priced too high, then you would have lost another $100-$150 in value if you sat on it for a month, because it's eroded that fast with the A7R3 and A7 III release. So just keep this in mind, Bokamarket.com, if you want to see what your gear is worth. But obviously we're not the only place for that information. You can go straight to eBay, check out sold listings, or you can go to forums, even eBay or Facebook listings, just to see this information. Regardless of where you find it, we want you to make sure that you have this information before you start the buy and sell process, just so you can do it in a timely fashion and get the price you deserve, either on the sales side or the buy side. All right, so you've armed yourself with some information. You know what you're going to sell your product for. You know what you're going to buy your camera gear for. So you're going to head over to one of these 4 platforms that we're going to talk about next. The first one being eBay. eBay is the behemoth in this space. They probably sell more camera gear than all the other platforms combined. So let's talk about it as a buyer first. We like it as a buyer for a couple of reasons. One, they're going to have the widest selection of used camera gear. It's all over the place. They've got every little weird thing that you can think of, old film camera stuff, all the way up to new cinema cameras. This is even a place you can buy new for things that haven't been released yet or have a back order, like right now the A7 III. You can find those if you really want to pay a premium. You can find those on eBay. First tip I'm going to give you as a buyer on eBay is to buy classic style auctions. If you look at the data, classic style auctions universally across the board go for less than their buy it now counterparts and they generally go well below market value, sometimes hugely below market value, and that has to do with our next tip. So just keep that in mind. You get that instant gratification of running out there and buying the buy it now, but think about the classic auction as instant gratification in reverse for the seller. The seller is gratified instantly in knowing that if they have a reserve met, or they throw that out there for a classic style auction and put a 5-day window on it, they know that they're going to get paid in 5 days. That's why they're willing to take less money instead of putting a buy it now out there, because they're not going to be patient, and maybe it could take a month, maybe it never sells at the buy it now price. So just think of it that way and you can make some money. The second tip I'm going to give you for you eBay buyers is to buy bundles. I don't care if you're only looking for a camera, buy bundles. And what do I mean by bundles? Generally, I mean cameras that are bundled with lenses, and not necessarily cameras that came with kit lenses. If cameras came with kit lenses, generally I recommend to just buy the body unless it's a really good price. But in general, if you're looking for a camera, I want you to go and buy a camera, if you've got the money, and with a few extra lenses, 1 or 2 extra lenses in the kit, because you can later part it out and make a ton of money there. And generally, if you think about it, like if I'm looking for a camera that's $500 and they're selling for about $500, if you price them out, you can use our bundle builder. If you price them out to see what you could get in selling, parting off the other stuff in the bundle, namely the lenses, then you can generally get that $500 camera for $300 or $200 once you think about your profits, your wins from selling all the goodies. And that brings me to the third point. Look for goodies. And this is different from bundles. So bundles, we're talking about lenses. Goodies, we're talking about rigs, so cages, or batteries. Batteries are huge. ND filters can get expensive, SD cards. The key here is batteries. If you're gonna buy just a body, or if you're gonna buy a small kit, prioritize those that have a lot of batteries, especially if you're looking for older Sony bodies, older new Sony bodies like the A6300, 6500, anything before the A9 or the A7 III, where batteries were at a premium. Really good cameras with really poor battery life, you can either sell those off or you're going to need them, and those dramatically change the value of a camera. If you got a camera that you buy that's a good price, but it's only got 1 battery and you need 2, 3, or 4, you can think of about $20 a pop in the secondary market for replacing those batteries. Or conversely, if you only need 1 or 2 batteries and it comes with 5, it might be a tiny pain in the butt to list them, but you're talking about $60, which means you just paid $60 less for whatever camera you purchased. So keep that in mind. All right, one of my other favorite ways to save money, and especially if you're doing these classic style auctions as a buyer like we want you to do, is to use an auction sniper. We don't have any affiliation with auctionsniper.com, but they are one of many that we've used before, and it's pretty easy. You just go in there, you give it your basically the listing number, the auction listing number, and then you decide what the highest price you're willing to pay for that bundle or for that item that's on that classic auction. So it's kind of a set it and forget it sort of thing. So you go and get the eBay number, and then you put in, let's say you're willing to pay $500, you put in $500, use an odd number like 501.32, $501.32. Do something weird for those people that are stacking on regular increments, and then just let it ride, and you'll kind of find out with an eBay message, or you can watch the auction as it goes. It's kind of fun. It's kind of gamifies the whole thing to see what you paid. It won't always be $500. You could win the auction, even though you set a snipe for $500. You could win the auction at $333. It's just wherever that last bidder you're competing with left off. But the sniping is great because it sends these bids in very fast at the very end of the auction. So you're not raising the price all the way through organically through the course of the auction. It comes in with 3 to 5 seconds left. puts in a bid for you and then auto increments your bid very rapidly in a matter of seconds, all the way up to the ceiling that you create. So this is, if you combine bundle purchasing with classic auctions with an auction sniper, it's the absolute best way to save a ton of money buying used camera gear on eBay. All right, selling on Facebook, and this is where we're going to start to get into how you can kind of cover your ass. We talked about, we're going to mix those in throughout this video where we talk about for each platform instead of doing them at the end, which I think we kind of alluded to at the beginning, but we're going to mix those in with our tips for each platform. So we're going to do the reverse of what I told you to do as a buyer as a seller on Facebook. Or on eBay. eBay is good for sellers in that you have the largest collection of eyeballs that are going to be on your gear, and you have quicker turn times. Even with those classic style auctions, if you want the guaranteed money, you're going to have quicker turn times, but you take a haircut. It's not just the 10% haircut that you take from eBay. You also take another 3% haircut from PayPal, because everybody's using PayPal with eBay if you think about it. So 13% off the top, which may not sound like a lot, but it is a ton if you're selling expensive gear. The only place where you get some savings here is if you're going really expensive, because that 10% is capped at $2,500, so $250 would be 10% of that. So if you sell something for $3,000, you're only going to pay a $250 haircut and not $300, which would be 10% of that. So keep that in mind. The turn times are of value, but of how much value is it worth, especially when we're talking about camera gear that's fairly expensive, you need to keep that in mind. So we want to do the reverse of what we told the buyers to do if we're selling on eBay. We want to sell buy it now. So go do your research, price it right, and sell it buy it now. But what we want to do is sell it a little bit higher than market and do a best offer. Why do we want to do that? Well, this comes into our first tip about covering your ass, and that is scammers, while they won't generally negotiate, which is something that we're going to talk about later, if you have a buy it now with the best offer, they almost always make an offer. If there is a make an offer, because sometimes it's automated. If they make an offer, it gives you an opportunity to qualify the buyer. So let's say a scammer or somebody that you're not comfortable selling your $3,000 camera to because they have one feedback. Well, if they did a buy it now, you wouldn't have the opportunity to sort of do some reconnaissance on them ahead of time. But if they send you an offer, that gives you the opportunity to decline, even if it's the amount of money that you want, when you see that they don't have very much feedback or you're uncomfortable with their feedback. Bonus tip here, though, and this kind of fits in with what we're going to talk about in the forums, don't always look at low feedback. Feedback scores are a little tricky because you might sell 10 things or buy 10 things and only one person leaves you feedback. Look at join date. Join date to me for eBay is far more important than feedback, because join dates, while on forums can be new and it still makes sense, on eBay, everybody's had an eBay account forever. If somebody joined last week and bought your Sony a7 III, they are scamming you. All right, so as a seller, we want to do buy it now with best offer with a little bit higher price than the market price, because we want to have that opportunity to turn someone down. Although if you feel good about it, you feel comfortable about it, and you don't want to worry about scammers, do buy it now, price it right, and just let it ride. Just let it ride, it'll sell, I guarantee it. All right, so next thing we want to do is the opposite of what we said as a buyer. Do not sell your bundles. Part that stuff out. Seriously, you people are giving away so much money by putting all of these things together, and we're going to show you that in just a minute, where yes, it's more convenient to just go to eBay, create one listing with your camera and your 5 lenses, because you're switching from Nikon to Sony, and you just want to dump it all out there, get your lump sum, and go buy your gear. Don't do that. It's costing you tons of money, 20, 30, 40%. You're giving away because you're not taking the time. You're already photographing these things individually to show them what all's in there. So just photograph them individually and make their own separate listings. You'll save a ton of money. All right, so real quick, I just want to provide an illustration of what it's like to buy bundles for a classic style auction for a buyer and why it's great for them and terrible for sellers. So this seller absolutely got hammered on this deal, and it cost them a good bit of money. And maybe they needed that quick turnaround time. Maybe they needed the money. Maybe they didn't know what they had, or maybe they just wanted that guaranteed money at the end of a classic auction. All of these things, however, work in the buyer's favor. GH5 is a great piece of kit. The lenses in this gear, in this bundle, are really good. If you see in the picture, there are a ton of batteries. And so we've got the prices for each of these individual items listed on the left side of this image that show of the Boca market values for these items at the time of this auction, what they were selling for in the secondary market relatively easily. This isn't waiting for a long time or having to do some circus magic to get these prices. This is what they could have gotten for these prices if they would have listed them individually. The selling price for this after shipping, $3,700. The used value for this kit, that's just the lenses and the camera, $44.32, and then unpriced extras in the bundle. So either a rig, a cage, all those batteries that you see came out to about $200. So the buyer in this made out great, and this is why you need to do this as a buyer. They saved $930. I guarantee you they didn't need all of those lenses, but in the long run, they're getting what they, so if they sell off a few of these lenses, they're going to get this kit for considerably less than they would have if they bought it individually. And then as the seller, it might have been worth $930 to them, but I imagine that's a pretty steep haircut, especially after you consider all the eBay fees that they're going to pay in this as well. So just a quick note, an illustration, this is not uncommon. These types of deals happen every single day. So if you have in mind exactly what you want and what you're willing to pay for it, this is the direction you need to go, not buy it now auctions. If you're a buyer, absolutely buy it now auctions if you are a seller. All right, next up is going to be Facebook. We don't have a lot here. Most of you are looking for camera gear or selling your camera gear on local trade groups. My tip here would be to avoid those. It's just like Craigslist that has gotten pretty bad unless you live in a huge city. But then when you live in a huge city, there's so much clutter on Craigslist, it's hard to find it. These local trade groups, the way Facebook is set up, it's sometimes hard. Once you post it, it's hard that stuff gets pushed to the bottom real fast and never gets any eyeballs on it. The thing I would prefer you to do is join a Facebook group that's dedicated to camera gear. And there's a ton of them out there. I'm going to link a few in the description that I think are really good, that I've had a lot of success with. And these, even if you don't buy and sell a lot, these are great to join just to kind of see what's out there. Sometimes you'll see something posted that you weren't thinking of. And then the other tip I'm going to tell you about Facebook, and this is pretty obvious, is leverage the power of Facebook and all the information they have on that user to see if they're legit or not. If that user just opened a Facebook account, or if that user has 2 pictures and one of them is of a camera and they just signed up, like I said, or they have 4 friends on Facebook, don't sell your gear to these people. This is another great thing about Facebook, kind of like the best offer on eBay, is that you have the opportunity to qualify the buyers when you post something, because you can then, once they make you an offer, once they reach out to you, you can then do a little reconnaissance on them on Facebook. So that's pretty much it for Facebook. It's really straightforward. Join a couple of groups, follow along every day, and see just kind of what's out there. Or you can do a search. The search is kind of crappy, but then that's always an option. All right. So the next thing that I want to talk about, the next place that I want you to look is really online retailers. There's a few that we track, that we trust: KEH, Adorama, B&H, MPB. These companies are not only trustworthy, but they're often an opportunity to get gear at less than market price. There are a number of times in our data that we're tracking that cameras are listed on KEH especially for a little bit below market price, and all of these brands are really good about showing you up front what the condition is, and they always undervalue. So here's the tip: there is almost all of them undervalue condition. So if you buy something that's like an 8+ or a good condition, it's generally going to be a 9 or an excellent condition, because they are very, very conservative about how they grade their gear and how they price their gear. Some of it's going to be expensive, and I don't necessarily recommend selling to them, because I think you can do better if you're patient. If you got to have something today, they're always going to take your money, but they're generally not much better. They're a little better than a pawn shop, but not much better, but you get money today. But I wouldn't recommend selling to them. I would recommend, however, buying from them and buying from them frequently. We post all of their used postings and new postings on bocamarket.com, so you can kind of search eBay, KEH, MPB, B&H. You can search all these retailers in one place, but don't shy away from buying from them, and don't think that they're going to automatically be more expensive than the market. And also don't think just because they have listed that it's bargain grade that it's not for you. Bargain grade, a lot of times with all of these retailers, because they're pretty upfront and they're conservative about their ratings, is generally as good as what you're commonly going to get on eBay. So keep that in mind. All right, the last place that we're going to talk about, and we're going to spend a good bit of time on, and that is the forums. Forums are really important if you're buying and selling used gear, because generally they are made up of enthusiasts that take care of their stuff. I can't tell you how many times I've bought something on a forum that I didn't even have to worry about. One, there's always good pictures. These are photographers. And two, a lot of them, if they're selling on a forum, they're more seasoned. So they're not going to jerk you around. They're not going to give you a hard time. They're going to be pretty straightforward with you, and you're going to get a pretty seamless experience most of the time, not all the time. All right, so what are our tips for buying from forum and selling on forums? All right, so you're going to buy from an established user, of course. What does this mean? Well, it means a couple of things, and some of them aren't obvious. Yes, a lot of forums now, like DP Review and Fred Miranda, which I both recommend, and also EOS HD, if you want some more cinema-aimed camera stuff. These all have feedback kind of forums or ways to give feedback on trades, specifically in the buy sell trade section of the forum, and that's the most obvious place to look. But also consider the fact that some people might be more participants on this forum and not necessarily do a lot of trading velocity on the forum, which means they might have 1 or 0 feedback but still be a reliable, reputable source. So one of the ways we're gonna maybe do our homework on sellers and buyers on forums is obviously check that feedback, but we also want to check and see what is their sort of join date. How long have they been a member of the forum? Because what you might think to look at next is post count, and in a lot of cases that is a good qualifier that will eliminate concern. If they got 500 posts on the forum, they're almost 100% good to go unless that account has been compromised. But also, somebody might not talk a lot, might read a lot, and maybe not participate that much. So they might have a join date of 10 years ago, but only have a handful of posts. So don't just look at post count. Don't just look at feedback score. Look at join date. Look at all 3 of these things together to help give you that peace of mind. Nothing's ever assured on any of these platforms, but the more data you arm yourself with and the more just quick little things you do, it's going to help you sort of save your ass. One of the other things that you can do, and these things are going to start feeling a little creepy, but they're not. This is all public information. I think it's reasonable to do these things. Google their username. Google their username to see if they post on other platforms. They might not have a lot of history on the photography forum, but they will have history on these other platforms. So Google those and see if they have history elsewhere, because people generally use the same username across multiple platforms. Once you start negotiating a deal with somebody, or you're buying something from a seller and they give you their email address for PayPal, check their email address. Google their email address. A lot of times people's email addresses are firstname.lastname@gmail.com or whatever. From that, you might be able to glean what their name is. Google that as well. Sellers or buyers the same way. Ask for their address ahead of time before you before you get the money from them, because that way you can reconcile that with the PayPal address. But also, it's going to have their name and address in it. You can Google Maps the address to see if it's an empty warehouse, or just to see if this person is legit. Maybe it'll get you to their Facebook page to get you a little more warm and fuzzy, good feel about whether or not you're being scammed. Another tip here in terms of covering your ass is be wary of low post count, just joined, combined with selling something super trendy, super hot. So right now it's May 2018 and there's no A7 IIIs to be found anywhere. If somebody joined last week, has 2 posts, and is selling an A7 III at a really good price, do not buy it, please. Please don't buy it. These forums are pretty good about being self-policing and kind of letting somebody have it when they're obviously scamming, but sometimes they're not. But the flip side of that is if they're not selling something that's super expensive, or they're not selling something that is super hot and trendy, because that's what scammers do, is they want that quick turnaround, so they're going to do something that everybody's looking for. If somebody's selling an old Canon Rebel and it's not for a lot of money and they just joined, it might be that they've inherited this camera, or they're not an enthusiast and they don't want to take the haircut on eBay, but they think that they can sell it on the platform. So there might be some pretty good deals to be had there. So just keep that in mind. New join date, low post count, selling something hot, do not buy. Here's another tip that I'm going to give everybody: buyers, sellers, everybody. Please stop using PayPal Gift. Please, 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 please stop using PayPal Gift. When you sell something, post the price that includes domestic shipping for whatever country you're in, and not PayPal Gift. It includes PayPal fees. Remember this. You don't want to put your buyers in the position of having to come up with extra money to cover something that should be covered through the course of the sale. So find out what it's worth, what you need to get out of it, and don't do PayPal Gift. Remember, buyers and sellers both, if you get screwed on PayPal Gift one time for like a $2,000 camera, it's going to take you 100 of these good, legitimate, fee earning normal transactions to make that up. So just don't do it. It's not worth it. And buyers and sellers, it makes them uncomfortable if you offer it as gift and they weren't expecting that. So a lot of these concerns or frustrations of buying online have to do with expectations not being met, and wanting to feel safe. And I can't imagine anything more safe and to disarm some of those fears than to say, here's what I'm selling and here's what it costs. You don't have to worry about fees. You don't have to worry about shipping. So as a buyer, same way, don't try to earn a couple of extra bucks by offering PayPal Gift if they didn't list it in the listing, because that's going to put some alarm bells ringing for the seller. Forums, consider trades. Trades are really good because you can't do that. That's one of the big advantages of forums that you can't do on other platforms is trades, because obviously you can't reach out and do a trade on eBay. But forums, you've got a collective group of like-minded hobbyists that are trading the same gear, selling the same gear. So look for trades. Another tip I'm going to give you for forums is play the waiting game. A lot of these things get posted, and if they're not an incredibly good price, and sometimes even if they are, there's not as many eyeballs on the buy and sell forums as there are on like an eBay or even a Facebook. So you don't have to feel a sense of urgency to pull the trigger immediately. And if you're buying on a forum and you're looking for something that you had in mind and you don't need it yesterday, play the waiting game. It's generally worth the risk. And if a post gets bumped once or twice, then you've got a lot more negotiating power. And this brings me to my last point that I'm going to talk about for covering your ass, and that's buyers who are scammers do not negotiate. And that's true for basically every platform except for eBay when you have a make an offer option. On forums, almost 100% of the time, if someone is scamming you, they are not going to negotiate. They're going to offer full price because they don't care. It's not real money. And if they're selling to you, They will not negotiate and offer PayPal gift. That's not to say all PayPal gift requests are a scam. Almost all of them are not. But when you see buyers not concerned with money at all, not concerned with price at all, it means they are scamming you. This is generally combined with one other thing, like either a PayPal gift request or weird like Western Union, something non-standard. There are legitimate reasons for people that want to request Western Union or some other type of service and don't want to deal with PayPal. I get it, but generally those are seasoned members. And then also they'll want to do something like have you ship it to a different place than is on the PayPal address. Never do that. I don't care how seasoned, how much history the buyer or seller has, or the buyer in this case. Do not ship to anything that except what is on that PayPal address. And remember, since we're not using PayPal gift, we're going to have it guaranteed through PayPal if we can show that we shipped it to that address. A great way that scammers do this is they get you to send either PayPal gift or they get you to send to an address that's not on the thing, file a claim with PayPal, say they never got it, and then you show them, I shipped it to this address for them like they wanted me to, and PayPal will say, nope, you didn't send it where you're supposed to. So if a buyer approaches you and they want you to send it somewhere different than the PayPal address, ask them to change their address in PayPal. And then that way, at least you're covered because you're not going to do PayPal gift. So that's pretty much it. I would love in the comments below for you to let us know what you think is your best tip for buying and selling used camera gear online. Where do you like to buy the most? Or do you not even care? When you're ready to sell something, you're just ready to get it out the door. So you put it on eBay at a good price and just let it ride. Engage with us in the comments and let us know what you think about that. I hope this video was helpful for some of you, for most of you maybe. Sorry it ran so long, but there was a lot to get into it. So thanks so much everybody for hanging with us this long. Y'all have a great week and God bless.